And so I try to show demos as something that you guys can go do. Super, like you guys will have the stock and the tools to do it. So I'm going to make a pair of Hot Fit Tongs out of 3/8 3/4. 3/8 3/4 is a little bit less than ideal sometimes because it doesn't have enough width for the boss and for the shoulders, and it doesn't quite have enough mass for the head. But it does have is skinny enough stock that's easy to make reins out of, which is one of the suckiest things of making tongs. Shoulders. You know, I'll do a little tong anatomy for you guys. Like, so then we're caught up. If I say something, you guys know what part I'm talking about. We got the jaw of the tongs. This is the boss. This is the area around the rivet. And then we have the shoulders. This is kind of a Farrier deal. Jay Sharp made it pretty popular. There was a guy before Jay that was doing it too. It's a little bit of what we call like sex appeal in the tongs. But what it also does is it allows the reins to get out and around. Because if that wasn't there, the reins would have to come straight out from there. And so that means the bottom of the reins would always be more open than the front of the rein. And one of the things that sucks when you're using tongs is your hands always want to run forward. Is because, well, if you have tongs where the back's open more than the front, they're going to go downhill. They're going to run forward into the heat and where you don't have leverage on your work. So the nice thing about this design is it gets the reins so they can be parallel with each other when they're closed. And so your hands, like you can see right here, there's a valley worn into these reins of where my hands sit most of the time. And so that's a nice thing about it, and it gets them in line this way. And so if you don't have this shoulder where they can get around each other, and then you don't have this offset here, then now, like in the old Black Fit Tongs, they're apart from each other, and they're spread out. Where these, they're all stacked up and nice, so it doesn't matter if you're right or left-handed, they aren't going to turn in your hand. So that's, people say this is a sex appeal thing, but it actually has a lot of functions going on for it. And on top of that, it is a gusset. A little bit more. And this is something, the anvil, you know, I'm not letting my pieces sit on the anvil and get bounced back from the bottom. And I'm not hitting real hard right now because it's just going to bend it. I don't have no predetermined length I'm trying to get to. I'm just bumping it. Half-face gloves. So just a couple. Just a couple half-face. Now I'm coming into it. And like, so it's just letting the jaws be lighter, longer, stronger. And if you work it out of a gas board, it lets you scoop a shoe off at the bottom of the floor. What I'm hitting here, steel, I'm sure everybody's heard this term, steel travels to the hammer, right? Because it can throw them off, as if the shoulders aren't even. Right? You got one shoulder up here and one shoulder down here. Looks like they were made on different months. It's kind of a weird deal. So the way I kind of combat that, and I'd like to just throw out too, I know I'm an all over the place person. None of this is fully mine, right? These are all things I learned from somebody else. I have been very lucky in my life that I learned to make tongs from Shane Carter, and I have had help from Jim Quick and Jim Fuller from them. So I have had very good blessings of learning from some good guys that they cleared this path for us. They put it through the forest. All I had to do was just go run down it with the weed whacker once in a while and keep it clear. So none of this is all mine. So there's a couple things you can't move once you grind. I can grind the edges of these jaws off at the end. It doesn't really matter. That can be matched up. I can't grind the shoulders even, and it's really hard to move that spot right there where the jaw meets the boss. And so that's the spot I line up. So I got the jaw and the boss lined up. I try to imagine a rivet in there. So that's how I kind of get how big it's going to be. I know that it doesn't work out for a lot of people, but and also a nice looking, like Bloom's got a sweet looking boss, right? It mimics all the way around that rivet. And I bet it's pretty square, about 1 1/8 inches. about 1.125 inches, pretty square. So I would imagine if you did want to have a measurement for this, you could go to your widest width there, you know, and that would also be your length. But I just kind of eyeball it there. I roll them, line up, roll them. Now I got marks. Find when I'm hot. You come up here and you try to do this with the cross feed, and it's really hard to get established. You're just digging all over the place, and there's nothing to really go off of it. You're fighting with it. So I was watching an old Jay Sharp video, and I think Jay's like 87 in the video, and he died at like almost like at 90. And so it was all the knowledge that man had about tongs is in that video. And he grabs them from the jaw, and it's just like an ag heel. He comes over, he finds his mark, and you shear all the way off. And that's going to get my S-curve really going, and it's going to give me a very good reference on this back. It's going to be nice and straight. But the trick to it is, it's not a half face. It's off of the anvil. I'll find it. I'm going to come up above it a little bit. I'm going to let that other end do whatever the hell it wants to do. It already gets me a boss started. Now I go up, hang on my horn, straighten out that backside. And I got somewhere to go. That's kind of the biggest, it's just making that ledge to work with. It's a big help. Alright, same thing. Grab onto my jaw, find my mark, go above it. And that hit too, I'm pulling into it so it stays into that corner. Alright, back in the bar. A lot of guys will get too high up on the horn, and it makes a big old slopey radius, and that's just hard to get around the other pair. If I try to get higher up on the horn, and I'm kind of bendy, but I'm also forging into it, right? Once I forge down, then I'll take the corners. Flat. And like, this will happen a lot. Every time you do something, that thing keeps on kicking back on you. So everybody wants to come up here and do this. Every time you do that move, you thin things. So you don't get to do it too many times. So I just go up to the horn, I hit it down there. So it gives me more S-curve, and it takes care of my jaw, and I don't thin it out anymore. I'll clean up that little fuller, that shoulder a little bit. So when you're drawing metal, if you can break up the sand a little bit and not just be hitting against packed sand, it's a helpful deal. And so I will go to the edge of the anvil, and we're just gonna almost make this an accordion. So the first time I went down, I made a bunch of valleys and mountains, right? Now I'm just going back down and hitting the mountain. If I had better tongs to hold it, it'd be nicer. But even when I'm working under a power hammer, I don't try to ask the power hammer to do things just right by themselves. So doing this with a striker can get kind of hard. You can, if you guys are in practice, it can be okay. But a safer bet is on the horn. And so the next bet, I'll go ahead and I'll use Gavin, and I'll show you guys how to run underneath of a striker. Ready, Gav? So I'm just going to let Gavin run. One of the big things you got a striker, your striker for the guy, you got to trust him. Gavin's got to trust that when I flip that, I'm going to get back to it. So we got to square pretty quick. Now we'll go ahead and run up the other way. I'm I'm just using Gavin as the power hand. You try to make tongs by yourself, and you know, like, this is the suckiest part. Yeah. It's trying to draw reins out. So really drawing them out at 3/8, not that hard. Especially right now for me. So I'm staying off this shoulder end up here a little bit. Give myself some room. The lump to bump out. Everybody's got their own range preference, right? Put a scoop into it. If I came and did that with the round side of my hammer, well, that's going to get this jaw to come at me, right? Inertia's going to make it come my way. The S-sprin's already one of the hardest damn things, so I'm going to make it work for me. I'm going to come from this back side. So put the scoop in there, come up, take the lump out, and then now this gets the back of the rein straight again. I start working up too. Like there, I might move my tongs up so that I'm not dealing with bending stuff that I shouldn't be bending. Now the edges. So they lay on top of each other. They're fit for about 5/16 right now, or about 1/4 inch. That's cool with me. I got some thigh gap going. My reins are pretty evened out. I might have to trim off the nail tip a little bit, you know, or I could go ahead while I'm still apart. I could go ahead and draw this side up and make it longer if I wanted to. But to me, it's like that side's already real long. I like them compact. I don't want something big and crazy. But also, I'm sure you guys have been there. Sometimes shit happens when you're hot fitting and they go loose. And so it's kind of nice if they're safe. Like, I know that's probably overthinking it a touch, but problem as much. Alright, so middle and middle. And then hug the strong side, right? And I know I suck at leaning punches, so I turn around. Hit him again. I don't do a flatten again. You can see the little ring? The ring can be deceiving. This is a good one too. I leaned that punch a little bit. See how there's a shiny mark, and then there's a little bit duller circle inside the shiny mark. Ignore the duller circle. The duller circle is lying to you. Go with the shiny. And when you go with the shiny, you can only see 3 sides of it once you get your punch up there, right? So make it even on both sides, and then that same distance from you. Then you're in the middle. You can tell when you're close to the stud hole, right? Like, it gives. Make sure it's supported all the way around. Pump it out of there. Alright, so I don't know if you guys noticed too, when I started punching these, I punched from the outside first. Right? Whichever side you punch first is going to be a crater. The other side is going to be a mountaintop. If you had 2 pieces go together that were craters, they don't want to rotate on each other. You take apart like tongs, good tongs, but even these have them. There's a ridge around the rivet hole for those to ride on. They have a very little surface area so they don't bind on each other. From punching from the outside to the inside, so like right now I haven't flattened anything, right? So I come over here and I flatten. Nice little shiny ridge around my hole for them to ride on each other. Then hug to one side. The next part we got to do is we got to stack them. So we got to do that offset right there. So there's a bunch of different ways how to do this. Guys, the most common way is guys will use the edge of the anvil and go ahead and just push it over. The problem with doing it this way is it shears. It shears the metal. You got a weak spot. You'll see guys that are like this little hardy tool. When I was making them all by hand, I made this little hardy tool. And when you do put these angles in, they need to be at kind of an angle so they clear each other. They got to go at an angle with each other. So that's what these little lines are on here for, is so I could line up the back of the rein with the line, the tip of the shoulder with the edge of this radius, and then I could use my hammer, and I could just hammer them down. A little bit more exact. So I found the back side, put the tip of the shoulder there, get my hammer up, have Gab give me a hit, and flatten the back out. That's all it takes. And you see I got full thickness. There's no shear. It's all strong. You do, no matter what, it's inertia. You're gonna get a little bit of a bow there. So if you take the bow out. Remember, we'd rather have this than this going on.
No, that's good. Okay. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I didn't know if it was completely uneven or what.
This one's probably pretty cool. And they're just like, obviously if these are tool seal, you couldn't just quench them off and then go drill them. You'd have a pretty squealy drill bit. But these are just mild, so it'll be alright. Just kind of clean up that shoulder a little bit. This is a cool part of the Jay Sharp video. If any of you guys ever want to watch Jay Sharp stuff, is kind of getting to your last little bits of chances, is get a hold of a lady named Alice Johnson. And Alice has a series of videos of Jay Sharp making tongs, making spurs from a rasp, and she has a video of a man that we should all know called Edward Martin, building draft shoes and stuff, and it is spectacular to watch how easy somebody should jump well together. Yeah. Kind of clean up this back area. Try to make them look a little nicer. I try to forge really clean when I'm forging, but I like grinding things up. Like I really like going to the grinder and grinding on tongs that I make and sell. Have oils on it. The oils can read you wrong colors, so I get it to a polish, I clean it with the alcohol, and then I put it in the oven until I get to a good straw. That's on top tool. And you just do it with the Coke forge. Alright, so we got that there. The rivet's going to be bigger, right? Because it got hot. Things expand when they're hot. Alright, first hit, away. Now I'm just coming straight down. I got a flat little rivet, little button. So they're tight right now. Those things are stuck. I know I want to loosen this side and fit that side up. You can, but close to the rivet, because like that shoulder will move on you sometimes too. There we go. Just go ahead and work them open. Don't be afraid. In that video you watch Jay, he gets after him. Like he is not very nice to him all the time. And so like, you can see my reins aren't together. Always hit the low rein in your hand. You don't even gotta think about it. Just hit the low one. It'll come up to you. It'll flatten out. I've think that jostles it around and just like forges on the rivet a little bit. Jay says it's knocked the slag out of there. I don't know what I believe. You see, this one's real straight, this one's kind of bent. You got a nice little straight edge here. And we knew we got to lose a little bit. Now Gavin here. Yep. And I'd like to say that I would like be this traditional all the time. I would not. If I was at home, when I start forging on things at home, I go and throw a shitty 36 grit belt into the grinder so I can do anything I need to do hot. You grind on things hot, it's go away. Freaking hurry. We're a lot closer now. Alright, I don't want to bore everybody. That's the gist of them, right? You guys probably want to see me fit some stock to them.
Yeah.
That'd be good? Alright. I can do that. What size should we fit? That's silly. Don't be silly. Alright, here we go. There you go. You got these 3/8 here. Generally, you want to just cut a little square for yourself, right? Alright. Come in. Get that piece as far to the back as I can. Work even. Now I'm getting close. Take another bite. Make sure I'm all the way back there. And so you see, I'm pointing that way, right? With the thing. I'll put the piece on the anvil, and like whatever side I need to come up to is the side I'll have up. Now that I got that established, I gotta fix back here, right? If you like the hot, sorry, I'm trying to concentrate too at the same time. If you like the hot, grab your Hot Fit Tongs from the outside rim, you need a skinnier one. If you like to grab on the inside rim, bigger. There's something right here, it'll just kind of be a little bit of a screwy, you'll have to figure out. At home, I'd go like this and I'd go to a vise. Nice. Thing's hot. Squeeze it tight.
Good and tight. Almost closer around here.
That's a personal preference, how much side gap you think you want. I don't like that much. Always close them up. Closing them in that vise. Don't close them as far as you think you want them. It's like you close them all the way down, it never fails. You let go of the vise, you let them out, they drop. Dive down. You can find me again later too. And I'll clean these things up in the grinder while you guys don't gotta watch me, and I'll throw them in the auction for Sarah.
Sweet.